The clinking of silverware and the hum of polite laughter filled the long oak dining table as my father stood, raising his glass with a self-satisfied grin. "Tonight," he began, voice booming with pride, "we celebrate our real daughter, the successful one. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos? And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us what would you do in this situation? Be honest, tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin." The room erupted in applause. My mother dabbed her eyes with a napkin, pretending to be emotional. My sister, Emily, gave a modest little smile, basking in the glow of their approval. I sat at the far end, silent, the weight of his words cutting sharper than the crystal knives on the table. "Dad," Emily said, laughing softly, "you don't have to say that." He smirked. "Oh, I do. The world needs to know the difference between ambition and, well, wasted potential." His eyes slid toward me like daggers. Everyone followed his gaze. I could feel the heat of it on my skin, the unspoken judgment, the failure, the disappointment, the one who married below her worth. My husband, Ryan, sat beside me, calm, composed, his hand resting lightly on my knee beneath the table. His tailored suit didn't scream wealth, but his confidence carried a quiet kind of authority that no one in that room recognized yet. Emily leaned forward. "You're still, what is it you do again?" "Freelancing." A few stifled laughs followed. I forced a smile. "Something like that." She nodded, smug. "Well, we can't all be vice presidents of Parker and Holt, right?" My father chuckled, tapping her glass. "Exactly. You've made this family proud, Emily. You've earned your place." My mother looked at me for a moment, then quickly looked away. That glance, pity mixed with embarrassment, was worse than words. Ryan leaned in, his voice low, calm, dangerous. "You sure you want to sit through this?" I met his eyes and smiled faintly. "Oh, I want to see how far they'll go." The waiter arrived with champagne. Dad lifted his glass again. "To Emily," he declared, "and to the company that made her who she is." Everyone cheered. Except Ryan. Except me. The sound of laughter swirled around like static, dull, meaningless. I could feel the bitterness rising in my chest, the memories flashing back, years of being compared, dismissed, replaced. I'd been the daughter who painted her dreams, who failed once and was never forgiven for it. Emily had always been the golden child. Perfect hair, perfect job, perfect parents' pride. But perfection has a shelf life. Ryan's hand tightened around mine under the table. His lips brushed my ear, barely a whisper. "Time to tell them we bought their company." For a second, I froze. The room blurred. Forks clinked. My father laughed at something Emily said about corporate success. Then I turned to him, my voice steady, almost sweet. "Dad." He looked at me mid-sip. Funny thing about Parker and Holt," I said. "It changed ownership last week." The laughter died instantly. He frowned. "What are you talking about?" Ryan leaned forward, resting his forearms on the table. "She's saying we bought it. Every share. Every asset." The air turned heavy. My sister blinked, confusion flickering into disbelief. "You're lying." Ryan smiled slightly. "You'll find out Monday morning at your board meeting. We'll be there." My father's glass hit the table with a thud. "You what?" I sat back, my pulse calm now. "You said you were proud of your real daughter. You should be careful who you call real, Dad. Turns out, the one you overlooked just signed your paycheck." The silence that followed wasn't just awkward, it was poetic. Ryan reached for his champagne, his tone casual. To family, no one lifted their glass. But for the first time in my life, I didn't need them to. The next morning, the echo of last night's silence still clung to me like smoke. My phone buzzed nonstop, missed calls from my father, a few unread texts from my sister. Ryan glanced over his coffee mug, expression unreadable. "They'll come," he said quietly. "People like that always do. Pride doesn't let them stay quiet." Right on cue, the front gate camera chimed. My father's black SUV rolled up the driveway, followed by Emily's sleek white coupe. I could already imagine the storm that was about to walk through our front door. Ryan didn't flinch. He simply adjusted his tie, calm and deliberate, as if this was just another business meeting. The doorbell rang once, hard. When I opened the door, my father stood there, red-faced, clutching a stack of papers. "You think this is funny?" he barked. "You walk into my home, humiliate me in front of everyone, and now you're spreading lies?" "Lies?" I asked, stepping aside. "Come in. Let's discuss it calmly." Emily brushed past me, her perfume sharp and expensive. "Dad, don't waste your time. There's no way they bought Parker and Holt. The board would have told me." Ryan leaned against the counter, unbothered. "Actually, they did. Check your email." She scoffed but pulled out her phone anyway. The moment her eyes scanned the screen, the color drained from her face. The subject line read, "Ownership Transfer Notice, Parker and Holt Enterprises." Her voice cracked. This can't be real." "It's very real," Ryan said smoothly. "The previous chairman was retiring. We offered a buyout he couldn't refuse. You'd be surprised how many doors open when you treat people decently." My father turned to me, voice shaking with fury. "You planned this behind my back." I met his gaze. "You made sure I had nothing left to lose, remember? You laughed when my small design startup failed. You said I'd never understand business. So I learned. Quietly. Efficiently." He slammed the folder on the counter. "You think this makes you better than us?" "No," I said, my tone steady. "It makes me free." Emily rounded on me, tears brimming. "You couldn't stand that I finally made them proud. So you had to ruin everything." "Ruin?" I cut her off. "You spent years treating me like your personal punchline. You and Dad built a wall between us the moment success came knocking for you. You didn't want family. You wanted an audience." Ryan stepped forward then, his voice calm but cutting. "For what it's worth, Emily, we didn't buy the company to ruin you. We bought it to rebuild what your father almost destroyed with arrogance and favoritism." My father's jaw tightened. "You don't talk to me like that." Ryan didn't raise his voice. "You've spent your life confusing fear with respect. That ends now." The room went still. I looked at my father, the man who once told me that dreams don't pay bills, that love was weakness, that my worth was tied to how useful I was to him. For the first time, I didn't see power. I saw panic. "Dad," I said quietly, "I'm not here for revenge. I'm here to show you what happens when you underestimate someone who refuses to stay small." He stared at me for a long time, eyes flicking between the contract papers and my face. Then, without another word, he turned and walked out. Emily followed, but not before whispering, "You'll regret this." When the door slammed shut, the silence felt heavier than before, but this time, it wasn't suffocating. It was clean. Ryan slipped an arm around my waist. "You handled that perfectly." I exhaled slowly, watching their cars disappear down the street. "It's strange," I said, voice trembling just slightly, "how peace doesn't always feel peaceful at first." He smiled. "Give it time. Tomorrow's the board meeting. That's when the real storm begins." The boardroom buzzed with quiet tension. Glass walls overlooked the city skyline, the morning sun slicing through steel and shadow. The company logo, Parker and Holt, gleamed on the far wall, but today it no longer belonged to my father or sister. Ryan and I walked in together, hand in hand. The board members, all in crisp suits, turned toward us with cautious curiosity. Some smiled politely. Others avoided eye contact. They'd already received the official notice. Ownership had changed hands. At the end of the long mahogany table sat my father and Emily. He looked furious. She looked desperate. Both were clinging to the illusion of control. Ryan broke the silence first. "Good morning, everyone. As of last Friday, my wife and I are the majority shareholders of Parker and Holt. We appreciate your time." Emily slammed her pen down. "You can't just waltz in here and act like you own the place." Ryan raised an eyebrow. "We don't act like we own it, Emily. We actually do." Laughter rippled quietly through the room. A few executives shifted uncomfortably, hiding smiles. My father's glare could have burned through stone. He rose to his feet, voice booming. You don't understand what you've done. This company isn't a game. It's taken me 30 years to build. I looked at him evenly. 30 years of hiring your favorites, promoting your daughter, and running others into the ground. You built an empire on humiliation, Dad. I'm just here to clean up the mess. He took a step forward, his tone low and venomous. You think you can run a corporation? You couldn't even run your own life. Ryan stood beside me, his tone steady as a blade. She rebuilt her life from nothing. That's more than you've ever done. Emily turned toward the board, voice trembling. You all know me. You know I've kept this company profitable. Are you really going to let some outsider come in and take over everything? The CFO cleared his throat. Actually, Emily, with all due respect, the company's profits have dropped for 3 consecutive quarters. Her face went pale. What? I leaned forward slightly, resting my hands on the table. I know. Because I've been watching from the outside for a long time. You spent money on luxury offices, bonuses for your friends, and left your employees underpaid. That ends today. My father clenched his fists. So what now? You'll fire us? I hesitated, then said calmly, No, I'm not you. The room went quiet again. Even Ryan looked at me, surprised but proud. I don't need to humiliate you, I continued. You'll stay as consultants. For 6 months. Enough time to teach the next generation how not to destroy a company from the inside out. Emily's voice broke. You're doing this to hurt me. No, I said softly. I'm doing this so you finally understand what it feels like to be on the other side of someone's arrogance. My father sank slowly back into his chair, silent now. The weight of what he'd lost seemed to crash down all at once. Ryan addressed the board again, calm and composed. Effective immediately, there will be a restructuring plan. New priorities: fair pay, employee safety, and ethical management. My wife will lead the transition. Applause filled the room, hesitant at first, then stronger, like everyone had been waiting years for this moment. As I looked around, something inside me settled. Not triumph, but peace. For years, I'd dreamed of proving them wrong. But now that I'd done it, I realized I didn't need their approval. I just needed to finally stop chasing it. When the meeting ended, I walked past my father without a word. He didn't look up. Emily sat frozen, staring at her phone, scrolling through messages from coworkers who'd already shifted their loyalty. Ryan opened the door for me. You okay? He asked. I smiled faintly. Better than I've ever been. We stepped into the sunlight. For once, it didn't feel harsh. It felt earned. 2 weeks later, the headlines were everywhere. New leadership at Parker and Holt promises reform. Female owner brings humanity back to business. Reporters called non-stop. Investors returned. Employees smiled again in the hallways. But success doesn't silence jealousy. It amplifies it. That night, as the city lights blinked beyond our penthouse window, I received a call from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, until I heard the voice. Congratulations, sis, Emily said, the words dripping with bitterness. You really think they love you? The board, the staff, the media? You'll fall just like before. And when you do, I'll be there to remind everyone who the real heir is. I sighed softly. You're exhausting yourself, Emily. Try enjoying peace for once. You took my life, she hissed. My position, my respect. No, I interrupted, calm but firm. You lost them. All I did was stop pretending you deserve them. She hung up. Ryan looked up from his laptop. Trouble. Just old ghosts trying to stay relevant. I murmured, placing my phone face down. But I should have known Emily wasn't done. The next morning, my assistant burst into my office, pale. Ma'am, you need to see this. She handed me a tablet. A video played, a false news clip accusing me of fraud, claiming the buyout was illegal. It was a lie, carefully edited, and spread across every major social platform. Ryan entered moments later, jaw tight. She did it. I felt my pulse steady, not from panic, but from resolve. Then we'll handle it the right way. By noon, I called an emergency press conference. Cameras flashed as I walked in, head high, voice calm. False narratives spread fast when truth threatens fragile egos. I began. But facts move louder than rumors. I displayed proof of every transaction, every legal clearance, every signed agreement. The audience watched as the truth unfolded live. Documents, timestamps, and even a clip of the former chairman himself saying, "It was her integrity that convinced me to sell." Reporters murmured. Cameras clicked like thunder. And then, right in the back of the crowd, I saw her, Emily, in sunglasses and a trembling jaw. I didn't flinch. Family can be complicated, I said, letting the words hang in the air. But family also teaches us the cost of pride. This company isn't about revenge. It's about rebuilding something honest. The room erupted in applause. Emily turned and slipped out before the cameras caught her face. Afterward, when I stepped outside, the air felt lighter. Ryan met me on the steps, his smile quiet but full. "You didn't just win," he said. "You transformed." I looked up at the skyline, the same city that once chewed me up and laughed at my failure. "Funny," I whispered. "I used to think success meant beating them. Now I realize it means never becoming them." That evening, as we sat on the balcony, Ryan handed me a small velvet box. Inside wasn't jewelry, it was a key. "A new building," he said. "For your own company. One that carries your name. You've earned that." My chest tightened. Not from pride, but from something softer. "And what about Parker and Holt?" He smiled. "You saved it. Now, let it stand on its own. You don't need their shadow anymore." For a long moment, I looked out over the city, 1,000 windows glowing against the night. Each one reminded me of a lesson learned the hard way, that silence can be power, kindness can be sharper than revenge, and walking away can be the loudest victory of all. I turned to Ryan, my voice steady, full of quiet strength. "Let's build something better, something that never forgets where it came from." He nodded. "Together." The city lights flickered below as the wind shifted. Gentle, clean, final. And for the first time in years, I felt completely free.